tank ready for blasting! Looted tank ready for blasting! This tank makes the loudest boom!
Okay, I heard you the first time.
This tank makes the loudest boom!
Okay.
This tank makes the loudest boom! Looted tank ready for blasting!
Welcome back, everyone. For this month, we'll be checking out Warhammer 40k Dawn of War. This real-time strategy game was released in 2004 for PC. It was published by THQ and developed by Relic Entertainment, developers of Homeworld, Company of Heroes, and a few other games, but they're mostly known for their Dawn of War trilogy and all their expansions. Their publisher THQ filed for bankruptcy in 2012. Today, Relic is owned by Sega. In this video, I'm only going to be talking about Dawn of War Game of the Year Edition on Steam. I do remember playing this a lot when I was younger, and playing with my friends. But after playing the campaign, it's not as much fun as I thought it was. That was until I played each race in skirmish mode. Now that is some crazy chaotic fun I remember. Don't worry, the campaign's story is still enjoyable, but you will find it to be easy, even on normal. And you will only get to play the Space Marines. I do still recommend playing this game for the skirmish mode. Just don't play the campaign and assume that is all the game has to offer. You could even check out the modding community to see if they improve the game even more, like the Apocalypse mod, or Reunification mod. However, those do require the 3 expansions. As usual, we're going to go through the story, so spoiler warning, what I liked and disliked, and any funny or awkward moments that happened to me during my playthrough. Let's go slay the God Emperor's enemies. A quick PSA, the resolution for modern monitors like mine aren't available in the settings, so you'll need to go into the files and change it yourself. Now it looks like I'm playing Zack Snyder's Dawn of War. Just remember, if you change any settings, it may change the resolution again. That's why the map looked off in the first 2 missions. There is a tutorial to walk you through the basics of the game, how to move the camera, and build structures and units.
Welcome to the Dawn of War tutorial.
The main thing you'll be doing in this game is building units, capturing strategic points for resources, and eliminating the enemy. These strategic points give you the blue requisition resource. The more you have and build a listening post, as well as upgrading the listening post, will increase the rate of requisition. There's also power generators for green power resource. It's a secondary resource that you'll need for vehicles and late game units. There's a lot of lore to talk about, so I'll try my best to keep this as simple as possible. There's the Imperium of Man, and they have the Emperor of Mankind. He created the Space Marines, who are genetically mutated badasses and led by 20 or at least 18 known Primarchs, because 2 of them are lost to history. Each Primarch had their own army of Space Marine legions. Meanwhile, there are the Chaos Gods, which like to cause their own chaos in the galaxy. You have Khorne, the Blood God, Nurgle, the Plague Lord, Tzeentch, the Changer of Ways, and Slaanesh, the Prince of Pleasure. Long story short, they were able to turn the 17th Space Marine Legion to chaos, known as the Word Bearers, later turning Horus and 8 other Space Marine legions to chaos, creating a civil war called the Horus Heresy. Horus was the God Emperor's favorite of the Primarchs, and he almost destroyed the Imperium. But, again, long story short, the Emperor went and fought Horus, killing him, but the Emperor was mortally wounded. So now he's on life support, sitting on what's called the Golden Throne, and every day 1,000 lives are sacrificed to keep the Emperor alive. They must do this so they can continue to travel through the warp, which is basically their way of space travel. Again, there is so much lore to talk about, and there's plenty of YouTube channels out there to learn more. My favorite for beginners is Luton09, but we need to move on already. We arrive at the planet Tartarus, which is under siege from an orc invasion. A cutscene plays of Colonel Braum trying to hold off orcs with his Imperial Guard, but just when it seems like the battle is lost, Captain Gabriel Angelos arrives with the Blood Raven's 3rd Company of Space Marines. Gabriel speaks with the Colonel and then sets up a base to push the orcs back. You get a short tutorial, in case you decided to skip the normal tutorial. You build a chapel barracks in order to create more units. Then you can build an armory to upgrade your army. A new squad starts off with 4 units, but you can add more. You also have a morale bar. If this hits 0, then your squad is less effective in combat. They deal less damage and take more damage. You don't want that. Then you have the option of picking equipment for your squad to carry. Each equipment is good for something. The flamethrower is good for destroying enemies' morale. The heavy bolter is great at killing infantry. In later missions you can get the plasma gun, which is good for killing stronger or hero type units. And finally a rocket launcher for taking out enemy vehicles and structures. You can mix match weapons in all of your squads, or have certain squads specialize in one specific weapon. It's the first mission, so nothing special about it. Just send your squads out and destroy all orc buildings. The orcs retreat and a drop pod arrives with Librarian Isidore. Really quick, a librarian is basically a space marine that specializes in psychic abilities, so like a space wizard. Anyway, Colonel Brahm speaks with him and asks if it's true the company just recently eradicated heresy on the planet Cyrene with an exterminatus, which is when the Imperium orders all life on a planet to be destroyed. Isidore doesn't answer, and only says the Colonel should not ask such questions if he wants to remain in Gabriel's good graces. They meet up with Gabriel and ask what their next plan is. Gabriel is leaving to go after the orcs and tells Brahm to stay and protect the city.
Orcs only respect strength. I intend to show them that we have it in ample supply.
Now each mission comes with a briefing from Gabriel.
Or journal of Captain Gabriel Angelos.
The orcs are gathering in the wilderness and preparing to amass a major force and launch another attack. So the Blood Ravens need to go and press the attack and prevent the orcs from regrouping. Then you get to see a map of Tartarus, and so far things don't look so bad. Then a cutscene of Isidore and Gabriel discussing the plan. Isidore thinks they should just send the Imperial Guard to attack the orcs head on, but Gabriel thinks it's better to take a stealthy approach. But then Isidore brings up Cyrene.
Do not mention that place again, Isidore. Cyrene was my homeworld. My responsibility.
Then Gabriel speaks with a scout team and says the first stage of the plan is to retake the local Imperial waterworks from the orcs. You take your scouts and activate their stealth. Now you can sneak by enemies as long as you don't get too close. The scouts come across orcs killing some Imperial guards. You find the second scout team and they have sniper rifles, which are great for taking out enemies from a distance. Next area has a squad of orcs with a leader who can spot invisible units from further away. Just wait for them to pass and sneak by. Then take out this orc leader and Gabriel will arrive with reinforcements to take the waterworks. Once that's done, you can build a base and get to upgrading. I even sent some forces backwards to get the capture points. After a while, I advanced forward and kept taking out more orc bases. Just watch out for the Kill-A-Can. Those can be nasty in melee combat. Once the last base is destroyed, you win. A scout approaches Isidore asking to speak with Gabriel, but he's praying to the Emperor right now. The scout reports no more orcs in the area. Then Isidore hears whispers in his head.
I will suffer no trespass.
Another captain's log has Gabriel talking about the orc invasion is much more serious than they thought. Looking at the map, things are definitely getting worse. This is really cool to see and show just how bad the situation is, as well as the epic scale of the Warhammer 40k universe. Anyway, Gabriel and the Blood Ravens return to the city to defend it. Then a cutscene of Gabriel giving instructions to his forces before talking to Brahm. Isidore doesn't like the plan, but Gabriel tells him that defense is the best offense in this situation. You now have turrets and landmines to build for defense now. Very nice against infantry. It's once again straightforward. Build up your base, research upgrades, then build and upgrade your army, then Tyranid rush to victory. Not much else to say about this mission. I mean, you do get to command Imperial guards and upgrade them as well, but they are really weak. They do have the grenade launcher equipment, which knocks enemies around, so that can be useful. Once the last orc building is destroyed, we see the orcs retreating and an orc leader taking command.
Who's gonna go get Big Boss Orc among us? He got something special planned for these humies.
Gabriel contemplates how the orcs could be so well coordinated. It's almost as if something is driving the orcs to the planet to fight, and how to do it effectively. Scouts report an even larger force is gathering in the wilderness again, and getting ready to attack the city. So Gabriel prepares to strike at the orcs first. We get to meet the big orc leader.
Them humies is in for a good stomping. This is gonna be the best fight of their miserable lives.
Just make sure it's the last fight of their lives.
And this would be Agents of Chaos. This is Sindri, the sorcerer and mastermind of the whole operation. And this lovely sounding one is Lord Bale.
Strength. They will take pause before betraying us.
All we know is they are using the orcs to distract the Space Marines from whatever they have planned. Now you get command of Whirlwind Artillery. and Assault Marines to clear this area of orcs. Once that's done, build up your base and watch out for Storm Boys that raid your base. Assault Marines are great for traversing terrain. They have pretty good melee damage, but I found them to die pretty easily. I think the purpose of them is to jump on any ranged units and lock them in melee, then have your ranged units gun them down. It's a pretty long map, so you might want to build a secondary base further up the road in case you lose a lot of your forces. Then you fight this giant monster called a Squeakoth.
Look at that monstrosity.
Once it's down, push to the enemy base. There you have the war boss, who's not much of a threat, but the enemy has a lot of tanks, so arm your squads up with rocket launchers. Once the last building is destroyed, you watch the Space Marines clean up the rest.
Brother Tantheus.
Burned beyond recovery of his gene seed, along with Brother Michaelis. Nothing was left of them save for ash. They burned from the inside out.
Then the scout reports a dropship left the area with an 8-pointed star symbol on it.
The mark of the ruinous powers of chaos.
Gabriel knows it's too convenient that the orcs and chaos are here at the same time. He asks if Isidore senses anything, but he says there must be a sorcerer which is keeping their presence unknown. Then a dropship lands to drop off Inquisitor Toth.
Thank you, Captain. But we have little time for courtesies. You and your men must leave Tartarus. Now.
For now, the Space Marines are done dealing with the orcs. Toth wants everyone to evacuate because a warp storm is approaching and could trap everyone for either a month or a century. Gabriel, however, is committed to finding chaos. However, Toth decides to bring up Cyrene. Toth thinks it's because Gabriel failed to stop chaos on his homeworld of Cyrene and was quick to issue Exterminatus. But now it seems Gabriel is going to try and see if he can save this world without resorting to that. As the Space Marines begin to move out, an Eldar scout relays back to base the humans are coming. Then as a Space Marine scout speaks to Gabriel about a path that was carved out, it was carefully done, so it couldn't have been orcs. Then we see these scouts get killed. This mission is very linear. You start to head out and run into orcs and easily take them out. Gabriel could tell the orcs were running from something. Then come across a large amount of bodies, and Gabriel sees they weren't taken out by Imperials. Finally, you come across the Eldar. I find them to be a ranged faction. They have like 2 units for melee combat. But you need to watch out because they will use a transport to drop off troops behind you. Then come across this canyon, but your units get a debuff to die easily. Use a transport to quickly get across, then attack the Eldar on the cliff. Continue on the linear path and come across a battle between Eldar and orcs. You can attack the orc base in order to set up a forward base, so your troops don't need to run a marathon from your starting base. Anyway, continue on and fight more Eldar until you get to the end. You'll discover an Imperial soldier was sacrificed on some chaos altar. Isidore thinks it's some kind of marker. Gabriel says to learn all he can, then destroy it.
But Gabriel, there is much to learn from here. We should not be too eager to...
Learn what? Chaos does not teach. It misleads and it betrays. There is nothing to learn here, save for our next course.
Then Gabriel discovers the transports were damaged somehow. Isidore hears the voice of Sindri talking about Isidore's betrayal regarding the sabotage of their transports and keeping artifacts against Gabriel's orders.
Quiet, heretic. Once I find what you seek, I will use it against you for the glory of the Emperor and my brothers.
Inquisitor Toph has ordered the planet to evacuate. The Imperial Guard are trying to hold the orcs back while the civilians evacuate the spaceports. Judging by the map, it looks like the orc threat is definitely getting worse. Isidore found evidence the forces of chaos might be headed to Mount Korath, which is near a large force of orc activity. So Gabriel requested help from Colonel Braum. We see the Farseer getting briefed about the Space Marines approaching. Apparently she predicted this and hopes they will overcome them. Gabriel and Isidore talk about the route to the altar. Isidore can hear the whispers again, but they continue on and begin fighting the Eldar. Once they've been taken care of, you set up your base. Braum will show up with an Imperial force and guard your flank from orc attacks. I thought at first I would need to build turrets to assist them, but the orcs were never really a threat. I feel they could have done something more like needing to provide extra support, but I guess not. The way to the altar is tough and will be met with stiff resistance. Make sure your army is upgraded and equipped with the right equipment. Watch out for Wraith Lords, they can be pretty scary in melee combat. Eventually you can make it to the altar. The sergeant says they disable charges around the altar. It appears the Eldar were planning on burying the altar and anyone near it. Once again, Isidore studies the altar. However, Toth shows up and says he's surprised to find chaos here, but isn't concerned because the warp will eliminate the threat for them. Gabriel will continue to pursue Chaos to ensure they don't succeed in their plans. They begin arguing who technically owns the Imperial Guard, which leaves Toth no choice but to let Gabriel know he's on his own now, and will not be getting help from the Imperial Guard. Gabriel talks about what it's like fighting Eldar, and says he prefers orcs. Isidore spent hours interpreting the runes on the altar, and found out what Chaos are looking for. They are looking for some sort of key, but don't know what it unlocks. The key is in the ruined city of St. Louvre Mar. We see the Farseer turning an Eldar into the Avatar. Not the one who masters all 4 elements, but the giant flaming Megazord. We then see Bale and Sindri watching over the coming battle, and Isidore is excited to get the key for himself.
Just a bit longer, and then the key will be mine.
Now you can start building up your base. I start exploring, but I run into the Avatar already. Apparently he patrols in a circle around your base. It takes a while, but you can defeat him once you have enough forces. Once you push forward, you'll come across this bridge and need to wait a few minutes before it unlocks. Keep pushing and get to the key. Isidore can hear the whispers again. The Farseer tells Gabriel and Isidore to bury the key in order to fight the greater foe. However, during the argument, Sindri teleports in and teleports out with the key. The Farseer says Chaos has the final object and will undo everything. Gabriel tells her to stop speaking in riddles, which surprises her that he doesn't know, because somehow she knows Inquisitor Toth knows what the key will unlock on this world. She then tells you what city the forces of Chaos have set up their base in, and says they can no longer fight them because of the Space Marines. Gabriel continues to talk about what the Eldar said and even wonders if Inquisitor Toth might be tainted. However, Gabriel knows this isn't just some heresy cult, but an actual Chaos Space Marine Legion. It's specifically the Alpha Legion. A scout reports the Space Marines are on their way. Lord Bale isn't happy with Sindri how close the Space Marines are to their base, but Sindri reassures him everything is okay, and he has a traitor within the Space Marines ready to betray them.
Excellent. Prepare for what is to come, and dispose of this idiot.
Why? How have I failed?
You were stupid enough to personally deliver ill news to Lord Bale, and we cannot abide stupidity.
There isn't a direct way into the city. The only things you can do is using Assault Trooper's jump pack, or you just need to redeploy your forces. However, it takes a while because you need to upgrade your base all the way. Once you get to the other side, you can then push to the chapel. There's Imperial Guard that have turned to Chaos, so you need to kill them all. Then Gabriel and Isidore discuss what happened. Bale and Sindri escape because of the traitor Imperial Guards. Gabriel feels like this is a repeat of Cyrene. Then Toth shows up and they argue for a bit, but Toth explains what he knows. The planet Tartarus has an ancient Chaos artifact called the Maledictum. It's a stone that contains the essence of a demon, who has the power to influence human minds. The Eldar were trying to prevent the Alpha Legion from discovering the stone. Gabriel and Toth make amends and decide to work together to go after Chaos, while Isidore continues falling to Chaos by listening to Sindri.
The Maledictum is mine.
Gabriel explains that 60% of the population have fallen to the orcs. 25% of the Imperial Guards have fallen to Chaos. So things are really starting to fall apart. However, Gabriel is still committed to destroying the Maledictum, and then will recall his forces. Sindri is beginning the ritual when Bale interrupts about the Space Marines are on their way. Sindri continues to tell Bale that everything is okay and he's almost done with this chanting. Once it's done, Bale will have what he wants. Gabriel speaks with his men about stopping Chaos from getting the Maledictum, and his plan is to attack from both sides. As they begin to split, Isidore takes a squad with him. At the start, you only get control of Toth. There are some Imperial Guards and tanks, but it's time to get your base going and get those upgrades researched. Your objective is to take the 4 relics around the middle of the map. After a while, Gabriel will show up on the east side of the map. You can build another base, but he has Terminators with him, which are beasts at taking out infantry. Take out all the Chaos forces and structures, then take all 4 relics and hold them for 3 minutes to win. Bale is trying to hold Gabriel off, but Sindri says the ritual failed, but he was expecting that, because he needed a large sacrifice for it to work. Then Isidore shows up and helps Sindri take the maledictum and escape. Gabriel talks about the Isidore he once knew, the man he served with, and how powerful a librarian he was. Now he's on a mission to kill the individual that inhabits Isidore's body. Gabriel speaks with his sergeant and Toth about going after Isidore. Toth is surprised Isidore was the traitor, because he suspected Gabriel of being the traitor. Isidore thinks he now has the power to destroy Sindri, but it's obvious Sindri had this planned as well. So Sindri takes the stone and leaves Isidore to deal with Gabriel, but he is leaving him with some help.
Spill the blood. Blood for the blood god.
As usual, grab those strategic points, build up your base, and get your army going. Yep, the Bloodthirster does show up eventually, so hopefully you have enough forces to deal with him. Or just run between two buildings, since he really wants to kill Gabriel, but can't fit between two buildings. This feels like a Benny Hill montage, but I don't want to get a copyright strike, so moving on. This is a pretty big map, but I did a clean sweep all the way around and took out all Chaos forces, including Isidore. Then we get a cutscene where Gabriel and Isidore fight. At first it looks like Isidore wins, but Gabriel gets back up and keeps fighting to win this time.
I was wrong, Gabriel. So wrong. I thought I was strong enough to control it. I wanted to use the power for good, for the Imperium. You must see that. You must give me the chance to make amends, to seek redemption.
If redemption is what you seek, then that is what I will give you. This is the fate of traitors. Remember this, and do not stray. If you do, I will be ready to render you the same service.
We've made it. It's time to stop Sindri, even though he's transformed into the Demon Prince, and things look really dire. The Space Marines are even working alongside the Eldar. Surely this must be an epic last mission. Not really. Chaos only threw these things at me, but one turret is enough to deal with them. I was seriously just eating my lunch while I waited for my base to max out. The Eldar don't even do much. Eventually I fight the Demon Prince, and that's it. Final cutscene. Gabriel destroys the artifact, the Eldar say we have doomed this world and leave. The Space Marines begin to evacuate, but Gabriel then speaks to the demon. He thanks Gabriel for releasing him. All the slaughter and death that has happened on Tartarus was fueling his return to life. So I guess the Blood Ravens will need to deal with this problem at a later date? Maybe in a future expansion? Maybe a sequel?
Then come and find your judgment waiting. You have escaped captivity, only to face annihilation. I know you now.
Now we finally get to the best part of Dawn of War, and what keeps bringing people back to play, Skirmish. First thing you can do is paint your own army. This kind of feels like painting your own minis, just without the pressure of messing up. Then you can take your new design and fight on different kinds of maps. Some are big, complex maps, while others are simple and just let you get straight into fighting. If your computer can handle it, keep dead bodies around, and you'll get to see just how grim dark this game can get. I thought the orcs were fun, because you need to set up these turrets in order to spawn more orcs, plus on top of that, they can have large squads of 10 to 15 units. I did a 3v3 and it was an intense back and forth battle, until I had enough Shuda boys with anti-infantry equipment to take out the Space Marines. Then it was easy to take out the rest of them. The Eldar were, as I expected, really good at range combat. Still fun casting a lightning storm on enemies. Chaos are pretty much similar to Space Marines, but they do have a few different units.
The Chaos Gods speak clearly now.
In conclusion, Warhammer 40k Dawn of War is still a great game. The story is still worth playing through, but if you want a challenge, I would recommend playing on a harder difficulty. Then play the skirmish mode and go all out on the crazy battles. I'm sure in the future I'll do a retrospective on the 3 expansions. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe and comment below on what you thought. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.